Oh, what a wonderful apartment you have. Zinaida Mikhailovna said this every time she visited her son Oleg. He always smiled tenderly and somehow proudly in response to her admiration. The only one who wasn't happy was Svetlana, Oleg's wife, and by extension, Zinaida's daughter-in-law. Her father-in-law began dropping by more often, and each visit made Vita increasingly embarrassed. It seemed to her that at such moments her own home was being taken from her and, albeit temporarily, given over to her mother-in-law's complete control, as if she were the buyer, and Oleg was helping with the sale. Do you think Zinaida Mikhailovna almost never paid any attention to Svetlana and only said to her son, "I'll fit in here, won't I?" "Oh, you'll fit in, Mom. Of course you'll fit in." Sveta caught her husband's gaze again. He always expected her to happily agree. Svetlana had never done this. She genuinely couldn't understand the point of all these identical meetings. So similar they were, like two peas in a pod. Svetlana was a grown woman who worked hard and honestly. Meanwhile, she still managed to raise her son alone after his first marriage. Her 17-year-old son, Nikolai, was already in college and even managed to work part-time, so as not to be a burden on his mother. This made it even stranger for Svetlana to hear this babble about her apartment on her own day off. "The three of us are fine." Svetlana smiled calmly in response to her husband's gaze. His expression instantly darkened. "What, Kolya still lives with you?" Sveta felt strangely uncomfortable when Zinaida Mikhailovna affectionately called her son. "Yes, alas," Oleg chimed in. "The guy is already 17, and he still lives with his parents. A healthy guy. He should have his own apartment by now and not bother his parents. And he doesn't bother them." Sveta had gotten used to her second husband's attacks on her child, but she still often felt an unpleasant sting from Oleg's words. "Polenka also works and helps us financially. And after all, he's not even of age yet." "Oh, Sveta, you always protect him." "Of course, he's his own mother, of course." Silence fell, and that's how the conversation ended. On Monday, Svetlana went to work as usual. At lunchtime, she whiled away the time in the cafeteria with colleagues. Yesterday, her mother-in-law came again, and the same thing started every time. Sveta felt like she could only share this at work. Her colleagues heard it almost every Monday, and finally, Dmitry Golemoy spoke up. "Listen, maybe there's a reason for all this. Don't you think your mother-in-law, maybe even your husband, are trying to get something out of you?" "No, Dim, I don't think so," Svetlana dismissed. "Ollie just loves her mother too much. That's all there is to it." Still taking a sip of coffee, Sveta thought a second. Maybe everything really isn't that simple. Evening came. Svetlana, returning home, stood by the stove, while Oleg lay in the living room, watching TV. "Mom, I'm home," a voice was heard in the hallway. Sveta immediately smiled and put down the knife. Kolenka. Upon meeting her son, she tenderly kissed him on the cheek. "Like a day, like in college. Everything is fine. You got an excellent grade on your exam. Oh, you're such a good boy. I'm so proud of you." The mother couldn't contain her joy. Nikolai was the very person in her life who made her happy. "Dinner will be ready soon. Rest for now." "Thanks, Mom." Returning to the kitchen, Svetlana could still hear the noise of the TV and the conversation in the living room. "Hello, Oleg," said Nikolai. "Yes, hi," his stepfather replied. Nikolai and Oleg had a rather strained relationship. Oleg seemed to dislike Pasternak, which was confirmed by his constant talk of Kolya moving out. Svetlana, of course, sensed this, but didn't know what to do about it. Nikolai wasn't particularly fond of his father either. His son clearly saw How Oleg sometimes pestered Svetlana, which often made his mother look tired. And yet they had to coexist under the same roof as son and father. "Come eat, everything's ready," Svetlana called to the men. When the three of them sat down at the kitchen table, dinner began. At first it was silent. Everyone ate freshly made chicken soup, in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Sveta decided to speak. "So, Kolya, will you tell us something interesting?" She always smiled when she saw her son. And what can I say? Kolya was clearly happy to share his day with the family. "As I said, I had an exam today, and I've been preparing for it for the last week. I read, studied, didn't even sleep. Well, today I sat down with the teacher, pulled out a ticket, and immediately knew I'd pass. That's how it happened. They gave me in. Oh, clever girl. We're so happy you're doing so well in school. Maybe you'll even graduate with honors. You'll find an even better job. You're doing well, Kolya." "Thanks, Mom." His son smiled back. "And how's the job?" Oleg suddenly joined the conversation. Nikolai fell silent for a second. "Yes, everything's fine too," Kolya continued. "Well, I'm starting again tomorrow. I took a day off because of the exam, so I could prepare and do well." "Then why did I have to take a day off?" Ollie put down his spoon and crossed his arms. "Look at those people who work and study at the same time and live happily ever after. Both the knowledge and the money are independent." "I won't argue." Kolya clearly didn't like the alchemist's tone. "I'm working, but I literally took motaditov because the exam was really important, and my boss understood perfectly. He didn't even deduct it from my salary because he knew I'd work it." "It's not about the money, Kol," Oleg persisted. "It's about an independence, responsibility at Banaka. When I was your age, I was studying, working, and already living on my own. Can you imagine? In my own apartment, so I wouldn't have to live off my parents. Oleg." "That's enough," Sveta said curtly. The tension was growing. Svetlana knew they wouldn't have a quiet dinner today, and that made something ache inside her. "I understand everything." Nikolai still objected to his father's reason. "But these are different times. I can't do everything at once. I spend the money I earn not only on myself, but also on this apartment, on Mom, and on you, including Oleg." Oh, how he spoke. Oleg raised his eyebrows. "You shouldn't think about yourself, Kol, but about us, about your mother. Do you think she likes having to pay for you, a grown man now, and give up your room?" "Oleg, can I talk about this?" Svetlana intervened and then turned to her son. "Kolya, don't listen to him. He's just joking. I don't mind you living with us. You should finish college first, and then we'll figure it out." "I get it, Mom," Kolya answered dully. "Let's just eat, and that's it. I'm tired." He was tired. Oleg mimicked stepson. "Oleg." Svetlana stood up for him again. An oppressive silence fell again, broken only by the clink of spoons in plates. Such rude and unpleasant conversations had also become the norm. Oleg never hesitated to complain during meals in Nikolai's presence, constantly pointing out some of Samov's stepson's shortcomings, constantly lecturing him and telling him how he should behave. Oleg didn't care about any of Nikolai's arguments. His father considered all of Kolya's objections to be just excuses for his weakness, lack of independence, or laziness. Even if stepson, he tried to please him. But Oleg never noticed and ignored it. After dinner, Svetlana collected all the plates in the sink and, turning on the hot water, was about to wash them when her son approached her. "Mom, are you tired?" he said softly. "I haven't worked today. Let me wash them, and you can rest." "Good." Svetlana's heart melted at Kolya's words, and she immediately felt much better. He, unlike her husband, always tried to help her as best he could, while Oleg just sat on the couch and wasted electricity watching boring shows. Zabur. Thank you very much, darling. The woman smiled at her son. You're welcome. He kissed Mom on the cheek. Rest. Taking off her apron and wiping her hands, Svetlana walked out of the kitchen straight into the living room. She didn't see anything new. Her husband was again sitting with the remote control in his hand while scenes from some movie or TV series flashed on the screen. Svetlana sat down next to Oleg, but he didn't even stir. They were silent. Can you please not start such conversations at dinner anymore? The woman finally broke the silence. Why? Her husband objected. I only say sensible, correct things. Someone has to say them. You remain silent, and no one else can do it except me. We've already discussed this many times, Svetlana continued. Kolya studies and works. He does a lot already. He helps us no worse than we do ourselves. He's my child. I love him very much, and I want everything to be well for him. Oh, you're too soft with him, Sveta, she said dejectedly, and Oleg exclaimed irritably. It's obvious she raised him alone without a man. That's why he grew up like this, relying on his mother. It's all untrue. Oleg's words hurt the woman. Sometimes she simply couldn't believe that her husband could say such things. Svetlana did everything possible, though, to raise and support her son on her own, and she doesn't want to hear such things about him or herself. You know what, Sveta? Oleg. He turned to his wife and frowned. Your son is already grown up. It's time for him to move out. And I'll move his mother in his place modern, Sveti's husband declared. Svetlana's mouth fell open. She looked at Oleg in complete bewilderment. What are you saying? Sveta couldn't believe what he said. Your son needs to live on his own. Otherwise, he'll never move out at this rate. And I've been thinking for a long time about Mommy moving in with us. What should she do alone in her house without her son? Let him live with us. You want me to kick my own son out? The woman threw up her hands. He'll understand. Believe me, it's the right thing to do. Oleg turned back to the television, as if he hadn't said anything surprising. After all, he couldn't refuse the old woman. Svetlana couldn't believe what was happening. So that's why her mother-in-law was talking all that much. All her visits, her lamentations, and her husband were in cahoots with her. They both just wanted Nikolai to move out, vacate the room, and Zenaida Mikhailovna to live in her daughter-in-law's apartment. Svetlana's lips trembled with anger and bitterness. That won't happen, the woman said firmly. Oleg raised his eyebrows in surprise and turned to her. What do you mean? He asked. I'm not going to kick Kolya out anywhere, his wife continued. Zeta Mikhailovna isn't a poor woman and can take care of herself just fine. And my son works and studies at the same time. Sveta, don't say such things. Oleg shook his head. Don't say that, Svetlana replied. I'm not going to abandon my son to his fate. Sveta, her husband frowned and crossed his arms. Either you tell your son that he needs to find a new place to live and my mother will soon move in with us, or I pack my things and leave you. Svetlana exhaled sharply. That's how her husband spoke, giving her ultimatums, forcing her to choose between him and her own son. The woman heard the sound of water in the kitchen and realized that Kolya was still washing the dishes while Oleg was setting her conditions. Her son probably heard everything, but it was he who helped her, cleaned, brought home the money. After all, it was Kolya who made her smile and feel happy. Svetlana finally made a decision. Good. Her voice wavered. If you want to live with your mother so much, live. Oleg smiled. Darling, I knew, he began to say. But the woman interrupted her husband. Not in my apartment. Go and live wherever and however you want, and I'll stay with Kolya. Oleg's mouth dropped open in surprise, but Svetlana was adamant. Well, it's your decision, the man said angrily and jumped up from the sofa. Just don't run after me later when you regret what you said. I'm leaving right now. The second husband did just that. Hastily gathering some things, he got dressed quickly and slammed the door loudly, leaving Svetlana with his son, Nikolai. Silence fell again. Sadness overwhelmed the woman. Why did it all happen? She covered her face with her hands and was about to cry when her son entered the room. Kolya, she said weakly. Mom, I heard everything. He sat down next to her and hugged her. I am grateful to you for your choice, but if Oleg needs me to move in so badly, I'm ready. No, Kalinka. Svetlana smiled at her son. Everything is fine. I think it really will be better this way. And indeed, as soon as Oleg disappeared behind the threshold of the apartment, Svetlana was able to breathe freely. In that same second, she realized that she had made the right choice. And now she sat next to her beloved son, who had always helped her with everything. Oleg returned repeatedly. He kept coming, taking with him more and more things he had bought himself. A micro, even a comb. And each time he asked Svetlana if she regretted it, to which the woman always replied in the negative. She had no intention of being indignant or taking any of the things back. She simply wanted Oleg to leave her alone and had no intention of arguing with him. After many difficult days, Svetlana told her colleagues what had happened at work and had received only words of support and understanding. As she was about to make herself a coffee, Dmitry approached her. How are you? He asked Svetlana. I'm holding on, she smiled. It turns out you were right about my husband. I regret that. Dmitry looked down. There was a pause. Svet, the man suddenly spoke up. Yes, the woman turned to him. Maybe we should go somewhere after work. Her colleague smiled. To a cafe. Maybe I'm willing to pay. Svetlana looked at the man in surprise and then smiled back. Go ahead, I don't mind. She laughed tenderly, agreeing with the proposal. Then we'll meet in the evening, Dmitry continued. Yes, fine, the woman replied. That same evening, they met and learned a lot about each other. Dmitry began courting Svetlana, and soon she introduced him to Nikolai. The two men immediately became friends, making her life much brighter and sunnier. Despite the difficulties, Svetlana understands that she is still young and will definitely find her true happiness. After all, there are always those who truly love and appreciate her by her side.